Yes, indeed, folks. You tuned into Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. The crackling should now be gone. I've turned off the multi-hosting system, which consists of various pieces of string tied to various cans around the room with a pigeon in the middle. There is a pigeon in my multi-hosting, indeed. Now, those of you who missed out on what the website was, it is Roll Zero. That's Pixel Smith's website. Roll, as in roll, like egg roll. Zero, as in zero, ZERO.com. Roll0.com. So you can go check out his story, and it is very good, very well written, I must say. A lot of great information there, and he's updating on a weekly basis, so plenty of content for you to have a look at. Now, I want to read a couple of emails on the gold buying topic, just to find out why people buy gold. One here, some guy by the name of Jack H says, I bought gold, not on WoW, but on my trip on Lotro. I want to have a house and stuff, but meh. So I bought gold, quit Lotro, and I just think that it's cool if no one is hurt. Interesting. Okay, let's see what else we got. We got someone here who said, I have played WoW for the past 4 years and I have never bought gold. The main reason is simple, because I have better things to spend my actual money on. I also believe that farming and spending the time to save for an item you really want is more rewarding than purchasing gold to do the same. That's from Slade from Terranus. Yeah, I think there is certainly an argument to be made for making it worthwhile. Now, here's one. Hey TB, I'm not going to be anonymous about it, but I am sending for my alt email on my iPod because I'm in-game. You're sending from your iPod? That iPods are taking over the world. They can email now. Oh, God. Anyway, I have brought gold for several reasons. Mounts, skills for mounts, and weapons. One of the main reasons it was bought is because I was both lazy and was out a lot. So I was only on for raiding and about an hour to level some alts. I think looking back on it, it was very stupid because that was, say, £5 of gold that could have been between £20 to £30 of getting a new game plus expansions and time for a month. Every time I bought gold, I was risking my account, which I had spent good time on and could have had to start again. Thanks for reading. And that's from somebody's iPod there, and I will keep them anonymous. I've got an email here who says, I myself have found that after much consideration ended in buying gold. This was because I felt I needed to get ahead of my friends in the game. This ended for a short-lasting period of excitement, but soon filtered out in regret. It just made me feel guilty and a cheat. I recently grinded all the money to get a chopper in-game, and the experience was much more rewarding. Interesting. I'm going to read one more email before we go on. I will read more of these emails in the next topic, just before the Illusion of Choice and in next week's show, so don't worry, you will get your opinions read. That's a little bit too long to read. I might read that on next week. Here's one. Hello, Mr. TB. In the past, I've gotten a lot of gold, but to be honest, your rant last week gave me a well-deserved kick in the ass, and I would like to thank you for that. In my past, I did buy a lot of gold, but I've got to admit that it was only for an epic flying mount. Why did I do it? Well, I asked myself the same question. I also guess it was because it was easy and fast and I didn't have to lift a finger. When I look back at it now and when I think about your rant last week, I really can't put words onto why I did it. As hollow as it sounds, I don't want to spend all my time in-game grinding for flasks, buff money, etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, I can understand why people do that. I mean, I've got very limited time at the moment, but what I will say is that I think Blizzard has done a stand-up job of making it way less attractive to buy gold. They use the carrot and the stick, which is a great way of doing it. Particularly the fact that you can make all the money you basically ever need for everything except for your, maybe crazy luxuries by simply doing dailies and stuff like that, if you so wish to. Personally, I don't like dailies, but I made my fortune doing enchanting and crafting, and I've got all the money I would ever need. Really? I don't want a mammoth or a chopper or anything like that. I'm not interested in that kind of thing. But I've got all the money that I will need to get dual spec. I got my epic flyer, and I'll have enough money to keep me in flasks and food buffs for, like, the next century. So, I can understand why some people would do it. And I suppose if it was official, then I might think a little bit more kindly to it, but I still think that mudflation is a massive issue, and you should never be forcing new players to buy gold, etc., to keep up with others, and to buy the gear that they want off the auction house. I think that is totally and utterly unrealistic, and, in fact, quite cruel and unusual. So yeah, right now, no. If you buy gold now, you're basically scum, because you're financing the people that hacked our website. So you know what? Sod off. I'm glad that some people... It seems to be interesting the amount of people that feel guilty for it. I mean, bear in mind all of these emails were anonymous. They didn't have to feel guilty about anything at all, and yet I haven't found a single email so far in my box that has claimed that buying gold is A-OK, and has just said, well, I have bought gold, but I kind of regret it. Huh. Interesting. Oh well. Let us get along with the show. Now, Random loot is random. RNG has always been an issue for people in game, and I do mean always, ever since the first raids. Indeed, before that, people complaining, oh, I've never seen an epic drop, or I can't get this blue, it never drops for me, or even indeed quest items. Anyone remember Mercura Eyes? Oh, Lord. Oh, why? Why do you do this? RNG has been a feature of the game for a very, very long time, and indeed has been a feature of a previous Blizzard product, indeed two previous Blizzard products by the name of Diablo and Diablo 2. They were big into RNG back then. Now, RNG, at least in my opinion, has always been in part of modern role-playing experience. Yeah? Everything back to D&D, there was RNG in that, dice rolling, all that kind of thing. Modern hack-and-slash RPGs, you're looking at random drop chance. Indeed, even the recent Dawn of War 2 had an RNG element in it with random droppable weapons and equipment. That's how popular RNG has got. Now, there was a post recently on the EU forums demanding the removal of random loot entirely, and the replacement of all random loot with tokens that could be exchanged for a wide variety of different items. Because my first reaction to this is, wow, tokens. Yeah. Tokens are perhaps the least exciting thing you could possibly have drop. It's basically like opening all your Christmas presents and finding that they're all Boots gift vouchers. It's the same thing. It's like, yes, technically speaking, I could exchange these Boots gift vouchers for stuff that I want, but it's hardly the most thoughtful of gifts, and let's face it, that means I have to go to Boots, and it's a really boring experience getting it. If I was getting that every year, I'd be thinking, ugh. It's the same reason just getting money for Christmas is really unthoughtful and boring. The surprise element is important. The idea of having something physical that you can use right then and there is very, very important in the idea of gift giving and indeed in rewards. Reward systems in games have to be something exciting. Here's the thing. If you could choose between the two following things, which would you choose? A big shiny sword that shoots shurikens, lightning, and beavers. Or a token which allowed for a similar weapon. However, the similar weapon didn't shoot lightning, beavers, or indeed shurikens, but was statistically the same. Which would you pick? Now, I would personally, of course, pick the shuriken, beaver, lightning sword, because that's the best sword. Anything with beavers in it is a good sword. Have you ever seen a beaver sword fail in combat? No, I don't think you have you? Point proven. This stone also keeps tigers away. Seeing a weapon drop and getting that weapon, especially if you've been after it for a long time, is a big rush. I think the kind of dopamine rush that you do get from the little rewards that WoW keeps giving you is something that is inherent and important to the game, and indeed to the genre. Diablo 2 wouldn't be half as much fun without two elements. The first element, of course, is co-op play. Diablo 2 on its own is not that entertaining. However, it would be even less entertaining if random loot was not in the game. The possibility of getting this cool loot simply drop at random while you're killing is exciting. It's a constant rush. It keeps you killing those monsters. It keeps us farming those instances. Now, do you really think that people would farm instances on a week-to-week basis if everything they got was token-based? It's unlikely. Now, the introduction of tokens a while ago actually first started off in Anchorage. It's technically not true, actually. The modern iterations of tokens, at any rate. The first iteration of tokens, as I recall, was in Zul'Gurub, whereby you could get these items which could be then traded in along with various other materials to get various other things. Now, of course, the modern iteration of tokens basically involves getting blah 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 of the Vanquisher, blah 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 of the Protector, and handing it in order to get something in return. Now, as I recall, that kind of evolved in the original Nax, although that also involved handing in other various materials. That was based around the Zul'Gurub kind of system. The token loot system that we see now, you could see in its absolute current form with Karazhan, where you're getting these gloves and all that kind of thing drop, and you can hand these tokens in. Now, with the modern system, you can also buy several pieces of tiered loot using badges, which are, again, different kinds of tokens. It's tokens for tokens, really. Now, those were put in the game to kind of try to help balance out the RNG factor, because previously, especially in Molten Core and Blackwing Lair, you had players that might never ever get their full set of Tier 2. or their full set of Tier 1. Now, of course, getting your full set of Tier 1 is hardly much of an achievement, considering it was like warrior gear with spirit on and crap like that. But wanting to collect your entire set was I wouldn't say a noble goal, but an understandable one. So they made it easier. They introduced these tokens to make it easier for people to get their sets, but non-set loot was still RNG, and has continued to be so since then. Now, generally speaking, non-set RNG loot is slightly more powerful than the stuff that you can get from tiered sets. While tiered sets might have more utility, particularly if those set bonuses are rather good, the non-set pieces are often more powerful. Perhaps they might have slightly more item budget on, or they're just deliberately better itemized down a certain specific path. Like, for instance, Mage Gear at the moment has a lot of Spirit on it, whereas there's a lot of non-Spirit plus spell damage gear that you can get from Naxxramas and other instances that is technically superior in some aspects, but of course doesn't have that Spirit. So you look at tiered sets being a more well-rounded kind of staple set, as opposed to creating your set from various pieces of RNG gear. Now, I personally have suffered from RNG a lot, because I've raided a lot, so I would imagine that I'd suffered more than the average player. There's two examples that I can specifically think of where I've suffered at the hands of RNG. The first one being the Mana Igniting Cord. My lord, the Mana Igniting Cord makes me want to kill somebody! It's horrendous. The first time I saw that drop, bearing in mind we've been raiding Molten Core for months and months and months, and bear in mind that belt was like amazing back in the day. Absolutely stellar belt. Really, really good. I think the only thing better than that you could get from possibly Nax. You certainly couldn't get anything better in Blackwing Lair. I think maybe AQ40, possibly Nax. And the first time that dropped, I had DC'd, and the way that loot worked is like I DC'd at the start of the fight, so the boss became green to me. Sorry, not green, grey. And I wasn't able to loot, so I missed out on it. And we didn't see it for months and months. The other one is with Zul'Gurub. There's an item in there called the Hexus Cover, which is clearly a troll priority item. And it's a great big voodoo mask, and it has amazing spell power on it. Bear in mind, back in the day, 41 spell power, 10 stamina, 10 int on a headpiece was nuts. No gem slots back in that. That didn't happen. So you weren't worrying about metas or anything like that, but that was nuts. I mean, that was better than Tier 2. It was absolutely insane. And I raided for a year. A year solid in various different guilds doing Zul'Gurub 2 times a week, and it never, ever dropped. Ever. Now, RNG, of course, is involved in other aspects of the loot game as well, not just in loot that is important to build up your set. Stuff like the Death Charger and the Zulian Tiger and that kind of thing. Now, the unique mount in Zoloman did not involve RNG. They actually decided to remove it there, and they made it more of a specific challenge. As in, you had to run at this kind of speed and beat this stuff at this kind of rate in order to get it. Now, I would accept the argument that that is a pretty good way of doing things, but I don't think that it should replace everything. I don't think there should always be finite rewards for doing certain tasks, because I think that gets a little bit boring. I understand that it's a part of the game as regards to questing and that kind of thing, and indeed is part of the game now as regards to achievements and achieving specific mounts and that kind of thing, but I still think RNG is a very exciting part of the game and a very exciting part of all RPGs. The idea that I can get, say, an epic bolt gun in Dawn of War 2 is alien because, of course, it's an RTS, and that's never really happened before in RTS, but it's exciting as actually made it compelling. It's made playing all of these different missions in there compelling, where I might not previously have been such a completist, because the next Tyrannid warrior I kill or whatever might drop that epic bolt gun or assault cannon or whatever. I think WoW certainly has the same factor about it. I also think the air of mystery really helps. When a new instance comes out, when you first see that amazing legendary mace or whatever, of course you're not really going to see that, you're just going to see the shards, but say an epic mace or an epic weapon or whatever, when you first see that, it is exciting for the entire raid. I remember the first Dark Edge of Insanity we got, and people went insane, not only on DKP bidding, but it was just a genuine thing of pride. Hey guys, our guild's got a Dark Edge of Insanity. We were lucky, we got that, it was unique. Same with stuff like the Ashes of Allah and all that kind of thing. I think that while people do have a point when they say that random loot is unfair. I don't think it's supposed to be fair. As long as there is a ability to kit out your character with various different kinds of gear, so you are not deliberately underperforming, then I think it's alright. And I think there's plenty of alternatives, particularly now, more so than any other time in WoW, where RNG is not going to affect your playstyle too much, yet benefits you because it excites you and it thrills you when you finally see that item drop and you finally win it. I get a rush every time I get an item that I've been wanting for ages and finally drops and I finally get it. And I wouldn't want that to go away. Absolutely not. My name is Total Biscuit. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. When we come back after the break, going to be reading more of your emails on the subject of gold buying and, of course, the illusion of choice. And hopefully I've got some good emails from you. Otherwise, I'll be throwing down. That's all I can say. And at the end of the show, the very special song that I've written for this particular show. Cower in fear, foolish mortals. That's all I can say. I'll be right back after this, folks. So listen to Blue Please on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit, WCRadio.com. Enjoy.